The dark side of personal development when the ego hijacks your growth tools. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mind Engineer community. Here, Tommy Walker, sharing insight and tools to help you understand how the mind works and how to start making changes. So one of the things I want to share today is what happens to a lot of people out there is that the ego starts hijacking their tools to keep itself stuck. And as I always say, as you grow in consciousness, the ego also starts growing in consciousness and starts playing more tricky games to be able to get you stuck. So let me give you some examples for you to understand what I mean when the ego starts hijacking your tools. So imagine that you have learned that, you should let go, right? Well, a lot of the things that I share has to do with let go, forgiving, and things like that. Let's talk about letting go or control. A lot of people fall into trying to control people and circumstances in many years in their life to try to get the outcomes that they would like. So what they're doing is trying to control others. As they get into personal development, they start learning that they cannot control others. So what they start trying to do, and what comes from ego, is they try to start controlling the part of them that is trying to control others. So instead of really digging in to understand deeper what's going on, that you're using control as a byproduct to protect yourself from something deeper, what people start doing is they start beating themselves up. They start judging themselves for trying to control others. So eventually the mind might give in, the ego might give in at a very obvious circumstance of trying to control others. But what people are doing right now in many places that I've been is that they're trying to control how they feel. So before it was trying to control people externally, now what people are doing, trying to control their emotions internally. So whenever they feel sad, they try to tell themselves that they shouldn't feel sad, that they should look at the bright side in life, they should feel, thankful, they should feel gratitude, and they start trying to use their cognitive side of the brain to try to avoid feeling the way that they feel. So imagine they feel sad, they try to convince themselves not to feel sad. If they feel anxiety, they try to convince themselves not to feel anxiety. Whatever it is, they're trying to control how they feel. So a lot of people, the ego is using the same tools that they're learning now, but for control. So again, that is the ego taking over. What I teach is the opposite, because one of the biggest things that I teach is, are you able to love and accept deeply the part of you that is behind the control, the part of you that is behind the drinking, behind the whatever behavior, the toxic behavior that you're trying to change? Are you able to love and accept that part of you, even if it sticks with you for the rest of your life? Even if it sticks with you for the rest of your life? And most people tell me, like, Tommy, no, I cannot do that. Okay, so if you cannot do that, unfortunately, what's happening is you're trying to control. That is ego. Ego cannot love and accept parts of you that are supposedly bad, that there's something wrong with them, or whatever word you want to use. Ego cannot love and accept what is. Instead, heart, spirit, soul, whatever you want to call it, whatever you're going to call it, can love and accept what is. So if there's a part of you that is falling into procrastination, what you're trying to do is to love and accept the part of you behind the procrastination. You're not going to love and accept the procrastination. No, I'm not saying to love and accept that. What I'm telling you is to love and accept the part of you behind. So when you're trying to let go, when you're trying to, maybe feel the emotions a little bit, but just to get rid of them. And I see that in a lot of people that I work with, that they try to feel the emotions a little bit. It's like they're getting their toes inside of the water and that's it. Instead of bathing inside of the water, telling, hey, I recommend that you take a bath in the water. And they're like, okay, Tommy, yes. And they put their toes in there and they're like, I'm done. Okay, I get it. It's uncomfortable. The water is cold. It's wet, whatever you want to call it. But if you don't really get into the emotions and navigate them and feel whatever you need to feel, unfortunately, you are not really relieving anything. You're not releasing anything or very little compared to how much you could release if you would stay in the pain. And I know it's scary. It's not easy. Exactly. If you look at the Bible, it says that the kingdom of God, there's a very narrow door that takes you to the kingdom of God. If it were easy, a lot of people would be enlightened, would be, like the Buddha, like the Jesus, Krishna, so many other beings around the world. And there's few people that have been able to cross that door into the kingdom of God. Because the truth is, the work is not easy. Yes, it is uncomfortable. It's not easy. But I promise you that when you're able to stay in love and accept the different parts of you that show up, that's when you're truly disidentifying from the ego, separating yourself from the ego, and connecting with your true self, with soul, higher spirit, your God part inside of you, whatever name you want to put, you're being able to do it at that moment. The more you're fighting, the more you're controlling, the more you're trying not to feel, that is the ego hijacking your tools. And as you learn newer and better tools, the ego is going to find ways to use those tools to keep you stuck, to keep you protected from feeling pain. Remember, the biggest thing of the ego is to seek for love or numb the pain of the lack of love. Seek for love or numb the pain of the lack of love. That is the main two behaviors of ego. So the idea is to figure out your behaviors that are aligned with ego, that are trying to protect you. Because as I always say, if you fall into procrastination, procrastination was created as a protective mechanism because of the lack of love. A person that smokes started smoking because maybe it tried to fit in, it wanted to feel loved and accepted, it was seeking for some type of approval. The person that started drinking was maybe numbing the pain. The person that started doing whatever, porn, sex, work, whatever you were looking for to numb the pain, that is a protective mechanism. That is an adaptation because of a lack of love. So if a lack of love created all of these adaptations, protective mechanisms, what needs is unconditional love to dissolve that. And I'm not saying it's easy, but the more you try from ego to control, to avoid, even though you don't realize that you're trying to avoid. A lot of people that I work with, suddenly we're in the middle of a session and they say, without realizing it's automatic, they say, oh, but Tommy, I shouldn't feel this way. I know that I shouldn't feel this way. That is ego. That is ego getting in the way, trying to control how you feel and making it sound loving, making it sound anything else than what it is that it's trying to control. So the idea is to be aware of your mechanisms, of what's going on in your brain, in your mind, to be able to see those mechanisms, love and accept the Tommy, in my case, in your case, just put the name there, your part, love and accept the part of you behind those behaviors. Because again, anything else that you try to avoid drinking, avoid smoking. Like once I was listening to a guy that he was sharing, he was talking about mindset. He was talking about, the mind, behavior. He was saying, what I do is I hide the ice cream at the back of the fridge so I don't grab it. Yeah, that is a good way to go. Don't get me wrong. That is a way. But are you actually dealing with what's going on within? What could you have associated with sugar in your mind, or are you trying to numb the pain? Because it's like slapping to my kid because he wants to eat sugar instead of really trying to understand why he's going towards sugar. Loving and accepting the part of me that is looking for that comfort eating. Because a part of me that could be using comfort eating could be a part of me that needs love. A lot of people talk about this. I can eat a piece of chocolate because I want some sugar, or I can eat a piece of chocolate because I feel alone, or I can just, you know, throw a piece of chocolate down my throat because I feel sad, I feel alone, I feel something, and I'm trying to numb the pain. I want to relax watching a movie. Perfect. I'm really stressed out and I want to look at a movie to disconnect. Ego. So we got to start figuring out when we're coming from ego and when we're coming from our true self, from unconditional love. Unconditional love is unconditional, meaning that you love and accept whatever that is. It could be loving and accepting that you might not make it to the end of the, loving and accepting the part of you that feels bad because you might not make it to the end of the month. Loving and accepting that you might not stop smoking. Loving and accepting, that you might not, loving yourself, of course, but loving and accepting the part of you that might not stop eating, drinking, doing whatever it's doing. Loving and accepting the part of you that is struggling through that. Because seriously, people, it's through the unconditional love that we dissolve behaviors. I've seen it in these 17 years that I've studied the mind behavior through many mentors that I had, many people that I've studied. I studied so many people out there. Most of the people out there, the so-called gurus, most of them have tools to try to override the ego. So they're using tools to control the ego. So it's ego controlling the ego. Is not truly the soul manifesting who you truly are. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. And I'm not saying that these people are teaching everything wrong. No, but let's talk about how the mind can use tools from ego. Mel Robbins talks about the 5-second rule. If you come up with something, oh, I need to take a bath, oh, I need to go to the gym, I need to do something that you don't want to do, whatever that is, she says, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go do it. And I tell you, stop a second and check why you have the resistance. Another rule from Mel Robbins, the let them theory. I love the idea, but look how ego can grab that concept. When you have this let them theory, is imagine that my wife is behaving a way that bothers me. Instead of talking to her, instead of, feeling bad, I tell myself, let her. Let them behave however she's behaving. Let those neighbors do whatever they want to do. How about checking, why is it bothering me? What is the narrative I'm telling myself behind those behaviors? Because if something is bothering you, it's not so much what these people are doing, is what you're telling yourself. So again, the let them theory, I love it as a opportunity to grow, but the ego grabs it and says, okay, Tommy, you're sad because the neighbor did that. Let them. Avoid pain. That's indirectly what the mind is saying. Avoid pain, Tommy. Don't think about it. Just let her do whatever she wants to do. When you apply that from ego, you're avoiding pain. So whatever you do to avoid pain, it's your ego. Because spirit, your true self, is all about sitting, loving, and accepting the parts of you that are behaving in ways that are not supposedly acceptable. But I work with people that were beating themselves up for procrastination on doing their taxes or, not cleaning the house or whatever. Once I was working with a woman that she wouldn't clean her house. She did the basics, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it because she didn't know this. But I asked her, when you were a little girl, who did the cleaning in your house? And she's like, Tommy, I did. When I was already 5 years old, my mom would push me to clean the house. So I told her, that is a reason why you're finding it so difficult to clean your house today. Because now I ask her, do you beat yourself up to try to get to clean the house? And she's like, yes, every day, all day when I'm at home. Is it working? And she's like, no. So what you're telling me that really bothered you as a little girl, mom beating you, right, to get the house clean, you're doing it to yourself nowadays. And she was like, what? Seriously, she was shocked to realize that she was doing the same thing to herself. No wonder she was not being able to do it because she was beating herself up. So how are you beating yourself up to do stuff or not do stuff that is just reinforcing the same behavior that you're trying to change? Have you tried unconditional love of those parts of you behind the behavior, trying to understand what is the pain? What are the emotions that are not being processed and released? Because at the end, seriously, guys, everything goes back to your belief system and the emotions not processed. But to get to your belief system, first you got to cross through, navigate through the negative emotions. But we're so freaking scared to feel our emotions because we have been taught that they are a threat. When we were kids, we were judged, criticized, made fun of, or whatever variation whenever we felt negative emotions. That's why this work is so freaking hard for most people, but it's the way out. It's through the emotions with love and acceptance that is going to allow you to free finally yourself from the pain, the suffering, the stuckness, the disconnect, whatever that you're struggling with. We need to navigate through the emotions. It's going to be tough. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be hard. Yes, hard as F. Yes, without saying the entire word. Very hard. But it's going to be very hard because we are not used to. It's like trying to learn how to play basketball and be very good in the first weeks of starting for the first time playing basketball. You're going to feel weird. It's going to, it's not going to work. You're going to tumble. You're going to fall. You're going to miss the hoop. You're going to screw up many times. But that's how you start getting better. And you're not going to be able to play pro league even after a month, 2 months, 6 months. But at least you're getting better. So I tell people this is the hardest work that I've ever done in my life. But my entire life has changed through this. And a lot of people that I have worked with, most have been able to experience changes inside and then slowly starting to manifest on the outside. This is the way out. It's through the emotions, through the pain. Because how do you become healthier many times is through doing the hard work. Going to the gym or going out there and running or walking or whatever, and the muscles start aching. Eating healthy is not easy. It's painful when you go to a friend's house and they have chocolate for dessert and you're like, oh darn, I'm not eating, today is not the day that I can eat chocolate, or I'm not eating chocolate, I'm on a diet. But then suddenly what happens? You break it. You get out of the diet because you want to have what you're having right now. Staying honest with yourself is hard in those cases too. So what is happening? The idea is to start working on those hard decisions that are going to help you get out of where you are and become a greater version of you. I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoy this. Again, the dark side of personal development and how the ego hijacks your tools, people's tools out there, and starts using control to avoid pain. Start exploring in that sense, and you're going to start finding, with an open mind and an open heart, open mind and open heart, you're going to find many different circumstances where you are using these tools to avoid the pain. Start feeling the pain and you'll see how you start releasing and feeling much lighter. When people open up, 99% of people that work with me, when we start working through a session where they're struggling with something, they're feeling really bad about something, when they truly connect, 99% of people do, they feel so much relieved and freed, first inside. And then as they keep practicing this, they're able to start seeing changes on the outside. It starts from within first. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoy this. If you want to know more, write the word free in the comments and we'll share free training with more insight and tools to help you start making those changes that you want and or you're finding it very difficult. And if you like this, subscribe to the channel that we share more insight and tools to help you start breaking free and become your greatest version. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Have a great week.